Welcome to Kitchen Counseling. I'm Chef Tom. I'm your motorcycle riding holistic chef. I'm coming to you live today from Reno, Nevada. I'm up visiting my brother this week, and we're going to do the show right from his kitchen. So one of the things I've always wanted to do with this show was actually travel out to family and friends' houses and do these shows on the road. So if there's something you might be interested in, shoot me a message and we will check it out and we'll kind of go from there. All right, so let's see what we got here. So why am I doing this week? One of the things is, if you've seen me on any of my shows from before, I talk a lot about my 4 F's to accentuate life. And those 4 F's are family, friends, fun, and food. And in the last few months, I actually got sidetracked when one of those F's kind of overtook my life. And so I lost track and they just got out of balance. So this week I'm kind of trying to get that balance back in place. So I'm up here visiting my brother. We're doing the show right from his kitchen in Reno. And I'm going to be doing the fun and the food with that. And then that leaves the friends. And I have a couple of big shout outs I would love to do right now for some friends that actually have helped me with the project that I've been trying to mess with for the last several months, and I just couldn't really get it together. And that was that intro that you just saw, that awesome intro. That is the vision I've had for the show for a while. And so I want to do a little thank you shout out to Kisa Puckett and her staff at KP Media TV for putting that all together, kind of coordinating that and making it happen. And even the little things, like at the end when we got it all done, sending me just a little video on how to do the upload to the streaming service. I mean, if you're in this field and you do this a lot, this is no big deal. But when you're doing something new and you're still learning as you're going along, just those little steps are huge. And so thank you for that. It made it very nice for me to do. I really enjoyed it. I was able to put it up on some of the social media stuff last night and kind of get it out there so people can see it. I'm really happy with it. The other big thank you I got to send out to is for KL Jones, who actually did the work putting it all together. We had a little talk on Zoom. I told her what my vision was. She captured it right away, hit it out of the park. She got everything I was looking for. All the different aspects of my 4 F's are in there, and the music and everything is just awesome. So if you need any kind of video, branding stuff going on, definitely check her out. Her website is ellevatenow.com. So that's ELLEVATENOW.com. She's awesome. Thank you very much. So let's go ahead and jump into the food. What we're going to do today is we're actually going to do my easy mashed rutabagas recipe. And you might say, like, why? Why are you doing rutabagas? What's the deal with that? Well, there's several reasons why I want to do this one. One, rutabagas themselves are very healthy, and they have a lot of vitamins, a lot of fiber, a lot of antioxidants. And if you know me, I'm big on antioxidant foods and drinks, anything we can do to kind of help our bodies balance and get rid of some of the toxins that are just naturally getting put into our lives just by the way we live and whatnot. So doing that and boosting that immune system, I'm a little bit about keeping the immune system as high as possible. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is that rutabagas are actually a really good, what would you say, a substitute for potatoes. So if you're on a low carb diet, or you're on like a keto style diet or whatever like that, and you're trying to cut your carbs or watch your calories, either one, rutabagas are really great for that. And where I got introduced to this was during a Thanksgiving meal I did several years ago, and for family and friends. And I asked them, I said, do you have any side dishes you'd like to bring in that bring back a memory of something good for you? And one of my in-laws was of Nordic descent, and he said, well, I love rutabagas. And I was like, God, I've never dealt with rutabagas before. I don't even know where to start. So what do? You get online, you start searching, you start doing everything to try and figure out what is rutabaga? How do I cook it? How do I do this? And I did a lot of research on it, and I found this recipe. This is an easy, simple recipe from spruceeats.com. Awesome website. Check them out. This one actually has 4 ingredients, and it's a basic recipe, and it's so good. So this really is that first step into doing something new and different. You want to get success at it so then you can actually do more. And over the years, I've developed a lot more with rutabagas. I love working with rutabagas. Got some nice roasted rutabagas with rosemary and whatnot. We might do that another time. But right now, this was the first step in doing an easy recipe that you can get some success at. The last thing I wanted to touch on is that this actually kind of goes into the topic I want to discuss a little bit today, and that is this real or is it a perceived real? Okay, and in the context of the rutabagas, let's just say, let's do rutabagas, and you come at me and you're like, I don't like rutabagas. All right, rutabagas are not something that's generally known real widespread in the US, so a lot of people just don't have a lot of experience with them. They might have had one try at it and it was not prepared well or whatever, and it's like, I don't like rutabagas. So I will challenge them by asking them just kind of point blank, well, have you had my rutabagas? And they're like, no. Well, if you haven't had them, how can you out the gate say that that's a true? That's your perceived truth. You just don't like rutabagas. I test them out. I challenge them, try a taste, and then tell me whether you like them or not. So they'll take a taste of it, and they might come back and say, no, I don't like them. I just don't like rutabagas. Okay, fine. But most people are like, oh, that actually tastes pretty good. I didn't even think they taste like that. And some people even like them better than mashed potatoes, and they start to transition. So that's what we're going to talk about when we get into the topic stuff. So let's jump into the recipe real quick. What I like about this recipe is that it's basically, like I said, it's 4 ingredients. It's super simple. We're going to go into those in a second. And then the equipment you need is very, very basic. You're going to need just like a 6-quart stock pot because you're going to boil the rutabagas once you cut them all up. You're going to need a colander to drain them in. You're going to need a potato masher so you can mash them all up. And you're going to need a cutting board and a knife. And that's pretty much it. So that's the dynamic of where we're headed. I want to show you how to cut the rutabagas. Rutabagas are a root vegetable, so they are pretty solid, pretty dense. This is your basic rutabaga. All right, it gets people don't even know what to look for, and then they're usually right by the turnips, which they look a lot like turnips, but they're a little bit different in color. And as we cut them, you're going to see they're going to have more of a yellowish to them and all that kind of stuff to them. The rutabaga is actually a cross or a combination of a cabbage and a turnip. But what's nice about the rutabaga is it has a lot sweeter flavor than a turnip, so you have a lot more things you can actually do with this rutabaga. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little chop here first. So we're going to cut off the ends just so we have some flat surfaces to work from, because they are very dense. They are very hard. And then what I want to show you with the rutabaga, this is the rind. You're not going to really want to eat this. It's very bitter and whatnot. And if you can see right in here, it goes kind of deep. But down in here, this is the meat. This is the good stuff. So what we want to do is we want to cut that off. So you want to do kind of just a little curved cut to cut off the rind. And if you could see that rind, you're going to be able to see where you want to cut, all right? So we're just doing a fast little cut around the end to get most of that rind off. So we get down just to the meat. And once you kind of get the major parts of it off, you can see you still got some rind here at the end, but most of it's been cut off. Now you can finish it off with your knife. Just cut off the rest of that. You want to get as much of that bitterness out so you're just dealing with the actual rutabaga meat itself. If you're not comfortable using a knife doing all this last minute stuff here, and some people are not, you can actually use a potato peeler. So you can get your potato peeler, you get off that last little bit. Just get it down to the meat. Now, I wouldn't suggest using a potato peeler for the whole thing because it is a pretty thick rind. Take you a long time. So I try and get like the big chunks of it off and then just finish it off with the potato peeler. All right. So now we have our rutabaga to work with, all right? So what you're going to do, because they are so dense, they do take a while to cook. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this up into small bits so it cooks faster. That's really what we want to do here. So I'm going to cut it in half, just like so. Then I'm going to cut that half in half. So we got a quarter, all right? And it is very, very hard. So just take your time getting through it. So now you got half of your rutabaga. We're going to take that half. I'm going to put this down so we might see a little bit better what I'm doing here. You're going to cut it kind of in like what I call French fry strips. All right. So now you got your strips. And then you're going to cut those strips in little dice. Take your time. It's not like a potato where it's going to be really super easy. Now, these are your dices that you're working from. Okay, you're basically going to now throw this into your pot of water. And if you cut them this small, you're going to bring that water up to a boil, and then you're going to turn it down to simmer and cover it. It's going to take about 30 minutes in order to get these nice and soft so that you can actually use them to mash. If you cut them bigger, which I have done, so you have like a bigger dice, something like this, it's going to take you a little bit longer to cook. I've had them to where it takes like almost an hour to cook them. They're really, really dense. So the smaller you can dice them, the faster it's going to cook up for you. So that's why I like the small dice. So let me move this out of the way. Once you've actually cooked them and boiled them, you're just going to drain them. You're going to throw them back in the pot, and with your masher, you're just going to mash them. Going to mash them up, and then you're going to throw your salt, pepper, and butter in there. Okay? Now, I'm at my brother's house, like I said. He's not much of a cook. He doesn't even have a potato masher. So we're improvising a little bit today. So I've got my cooked rutabagas that I've already done here, and it took about 30 minutes to cook these up. So we got them into a sheet tray, and we're just going to use what he has in the kitchen. So we got a nice little fork and spoon, and we're just going to mash. Just going to mash, 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 mash. And if you get them nice and soft, it doesn't take that much to mash them up. Once you get a little bit of the mash going, we're going to put in 1/3 of a cup of butter. This is going to give it some nice flavor. A teaspoon of salt. You basically had 2 teaspoons to start this recipe. You put 1 in the water when you're boiling it. You're going to put the other one on the actual rutabagas here at this stage. And then we're going to do about 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Okay. So there we go. There's our ingredients. And then we just kind of keep mashing them all up. We're going to get them all mashed together. We're basically going to make that consistency of like mashed potatoes. This only takes a couple minutes. Of course, if you have the masher, it goes a lot faster. So this takes a little bit extra time doing it with a fork and a spoon, but you can still do it. There we go. And once you get them mashed up to the consistency you like, we're just going to go ahead and throw these into a little bit of a bowl here. Going to see how they taste. So this is our mashed rutabagas. All right. Just real simple, little salt, little butter, and a little bit of pepper. Salt, pepper, and butter. So let's see how we always want to taste. You want to taste because you might need to adjust a little bit. Oh, no. Got enough salt, got enough pepper. I could probably put a little bit more butter in it, but that I'm not going to because we're going to do a little variation. Now, I've been doing this recipe for years just this way, all right? And it's a great side dish at Thanksgiving. It's a great side dish, period, all right? It's just really, really good. But what we're going to do today is that I also have a sour cream mashed potato recipe that I use at Thanksgiving a lot. So we're going to try this with a little bit of sour cream and see if it changes the flavor, the texture, whatever. This is the experimenting part. Once you actually do a simple recipe and you have success at it, you're willing to try a little experimentation. So we're actually doing this kind of on the fly today. I just wanted to see how the sour cream would affect the flavor of the rutabagas. All right, so now we have a little bit of a sour cream mashed rutabaga. Oh, I think I even like that one better. Wow, that's the first time I've tried that. That's actually good. Yes, yes, that's definitely a winner. Definitely try the sour cream. You can try other things, whatever you like with it. Now, one of the things I like to talk about the rutabaga is just a little bit. We mentioned real quickly that they're healthy. They have 1/3 of the fiber that you need on a daily percentage, on the diet, on your daily diet. They also have 1/3 of your potassium that your body needs, and they have 3 times the amount of vitamin C that your body needs on a daily basis. And the vitamin C is good to keep replacing in a lot of different ways because we use it up every single day. So it's like we want to find ways to get vitamin C back into our life. As far as the substitute goes with potatoes, say doing it for the potatoes, if you're on a low carb diet, a comparison between 1 cup of potatoes and 1 cup of rutabagas. 1 cup of potatoes is going to have about 136 calories in it, and it's going to have about 31 carbs. 1 cup of rutabaga is going to have 51 calories in it, and it's going to have 12 carbs. So you're basically down to 1/3 of what it is on the potatoes. And once you actually try this, I mean, I've had diehard mashed potato lovers that just like, oh, I think I like this better. It has a different flavor to it, but it's got the consistency the same as the potatoes. And they're just like, wow, that is really what I really, really like. Okay. So again, keeping your mind open and doing all that, that's really what the differences are, the dietary stuff with it, why I like trying new things. Let's jump real quick into the topic. And the topic I mentioned before was, is your reaction to something real, or is it a perceived reality? And in the advent of social media and our virtual world that we're in these days, sometimes it's hard to substantiate all these stuff that's being thrown at us. We're being exposed to from all different angles on our different devices and all that kind of stuff. Is it real, or is it virtually real? Now, when you start going down the what is real path, I mean, you can take it down a philosophical path, you can take it down a quantum physics path, and it just like blows your mind, okay? We're going to simplify it just from the standpoint of the food today, but you can also then start challenging your perceptions on everything. Okay, so when people come to me, I'm going to use cauliflower as an example because I get this a lot. It's like, I hate cauliflower. Well, it could be just that you were exposed to the way cauliflower is made in the past, that you just didn't like the consistency, the flavor, whatever. I know growing up, we were not a huge cooked vegetable family. So our stuff was like boiled all to death. There was no nutrients in it. There was no flavor in it. It was just mushy and ick. So I remember growing up saying, I don't really like vegetables. And some of my family members are the same way. They will still say that. And it's like, I don't like vegetables. And that's because that's what our experience was. As I grew up and I changed and I went out into the world and I started playing with different vegetables, how to cook them, spices to use and whatnot, I found that I love vegetables. There's so many different things, so many different flavors that come out of it. I truly love that. So when somebody comes to me and say they don't like cauliflower, for example, there's tons of great recipes of cauliflower out there nowadays because it has become a fad to do a lot of stuff with cauliflower, to cut carbs and whatnot. So I'll challenge them on their perception. It's like, okay, you don't like cauliflower, just try it. I have a smoky frittata recipe. We've actually done a show on that. And, you could check that one out in the, what do they call them? Video on demand stuff for the past shows and stuff like that. You can find that recipe. But I'll have them taste it. Just taste it. One bite. Just challenge you for one bite. They'll taste it and they'll be like, oh my God, this is really, really good. And they'll eat the whole thing and like, can I have some more? Okay, so now you're changing that perspective from a generalization that you don't like cauliflower, that you just didn't like it the way it was prepared before, but I do like it this way. Now, I might show somebody this recipe of mashed rutabagas and they try it and they're like, nah, I don't like it. All right, you tried it. Now you have some data, some real life data for you that you can say, no, I just don't like the way you made the rutabagas. That's it. Okay, it's taking a general theme of something, and then when you're given a little bit more narrow specific on something, you're still attaching that mindset to that general theme and you just discount it. So all I'm doing is challenging you to actually think about the individual particular situation and making a decision or a thought based on that data that you've received. And now you have a true situation. I don't like the way you've made this. I might like it some other way, but I don't like this. You know, when somebody does something to you, I don't like the way that you did this to me in this situation. All right. So that's really where I just want to start challenging you a little bit to change your thought processes and think along those lines. So with that, I want to say thank you all for joining us today. I've enjoyed being up in Reno and visiting family and having some fun with this stuff. If you like anything that's going on here, please, like us on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Your Soul Path. I also have a YouTube channel, Kitchen Counseling, or you can catch us on any of the KP Media streaming services through Apple TV, Android, Roku, Amazon Fire. If you have any of those services, check us out. And until next time, thank you for joining us. Like the way that you did this to me in this situation. All right. So that's really where I just want to start challenging you a little bit to change your thought processes and think along those lines. So with that, I want to say thank you all for joining us today. I've enjoyed being up in Reno and visiting family and having some fun with this stuff. If you like anything that's going on here, please, like us on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Your Soul Path. I also have a YouTube channel, Kitchen Counseling, or you can catch us on any of the KP Media streaming services through Apple TV, Android, Roku, Amazon Fire. If you have any of those services, check us out. And until next time, thank you for joining us, and I will see you next week. All right. See ya. Bye-bye.